Hello, my name is Adam. Welcome to Leverton on Politics, the new subsection of my channel where I complain about political things to an audience of tens of tens. Um, we are talking today about Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, and specifically the fracturing of the MAGA movement. And I think I've been watching a lot of Tucker Carlson interviews and Candace Owen interviews and Sneeko interviews because they've all come out against the war in Iran. And I think it's really good that they've done that. I'm not going to criticize them about doing that because I think that they are on the right side of history. And I don't know, I think each of those people got there through different reasons. But I think the important part to remember is this war is actually going to be a devastating war for American power in the Middle East and generally America's reputation and economically it's devastating. And the more people, the bigger coalition for stopping the war, the better. So I don't want this to come out like I am anti these people because I'm not. I'm glad that they have expressed their points of view, and I'm glad that they have taken a lot of MAGA people with them. And it's really strange that some MAGA people are still supporting Trump because they famously have claimed that he is this anti war president and he's the president of no more wars. And why do they believe that? They believe that because Donald Trump said that. And I think that it's clear why you have. I think it's this moment right now is pretty clear indication of the people who believed in Trump for ideological reasons and the people who believed in Trump for cult like reasons. And I think that the people who believed in him for cult like reasons are still with him. And the people who believed in him for ideological reasons are he's losing. And the reason he's losing is because he never really cared about ideology. He's a complete narcissist, and so he'll do whatever he thinks is best for him at the moment. And his family, right? Because his sons, I guess, are invested in drone technology and drone companies. So, what's better for a drone company than a war? Not much, unfortunately. So, but Donald Trump is a different topic. We're going to talk today about Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and the people who supported Donald Trump in the past and why they kind of turned against him right now. And I think that the reason they turned against him recently was because of this war against Israel and they war against Iran. Sorry, not against Israel, against Iran that Israel and the United States started. And it's not like the war was unprovoked, but it's certainly an overreaction, I would say, because it like there's no clear goals as to what's going to happen. Does the United States need to send ground forces to invade Iran? Like, what is the point? So people in the American right are saying that Israel is actually wagging the tail, right? So Israel is the one who wants this war, and they've even claimed that Israel was the people behind the misinformation that led America into the Iraq war, but that's not true. America, at least the second part, America led itself into the Iraq war, and everyone knew that they were lying about the weapons of mass destruction. But and they knew they were lying too, and they sold that lie to the American public. This war is a little bit different because they're not selling any lie; they're just doing the war and then hoping people kind of accept the fact that they did the war. So yeah, the American right is saying that this war is being propagated on behalf of Israel, and I think that people have unfortunately, um, unfortunately, but a realistic reaction to the genocide in Gaza recently, because Israel has always been doing bad things to the Palestinians, but the last couple of years it's been much worse. So Israel has been losing and losing friends. So this action seems to be completely on behalf of Israel and Israel's, you know, geopolitical needs in the Middle East, which are basically just to sow chaos and not really about American needs. And I think it isn't about American needs. It's about Donald Trump and what he needs and what he needs to give his handlers in Moscow. He needs to give his handlers in Moscow a higher oil price. But that's just my opinion. What I find really interesting is that this is the red line for people in the American conservative movement. And the American conservative movement that was sort of hijacked by Donald Trump was this American first idea, right? Like no new wars. And that's why they were hostile to the war in Ukraine, partially. But they were also hostile to it because Trump fed them this lie that, Russia was being betrayed and the Americans provoked this war and, Russia's not at fault. But Russia is at fault because they literally invaded another country. They did exactly what the Americans are doing to Iran now. So if you can criticize your own country for doing something, why not criticize Russia for doing it? And that doesn't mean, because I understand if you are like an ideologically committed person to the idea of America first, that you would not want to be entangled in foreign wars, like in in Ukraine. But that doesn't mean that you should spout Kremlin propaganda and you should say that, Russia is completely innocent. Like I saw an interview with Tucker Carlson and what is his name? I'm going to find out his name. 1 second. I'm going to do the magic. Ted Cruz. Yes. So I saw an interview between Ted Cruz, the Florida senator, and Tucker Carlson. And so the American right is in this interesting point where they have all this like kind of broad coalition that's kind of falling apart. You have people who are there for the culture wars. You have people who are there for the America First thing that I said. And you have people who are there for, Trump. But so Tucker Carlson had this interview with Ted Cruz, and Ted Cruz is famously pro-Israel, and he said that he wanted to be the most pro-Israeli senator in the United States Senate, which is a really odd thing to say because as a senator, you're not elected to represent the interests of Israel, you're elected to represent the interests of your own community. And Tucker Carlson was rightly criticizing Ted Cruz for this. But one part of the interview struck me as a bit odd, which is he said basically that Ted Cruz was supporting the war against Russia. When somebody says the war against Russia, you completely know they fell for the Russian propaganda. And Tucker Carlson was a mouthpiece for this Russian propaganda because he was a mouthpiece for Trump's propaganda. And Trump, as I said, is being controlled by the Kremlin. So I wonder if the Israeli support for this, or the Israeli, I don't know, support is not the right word, but the Israeli push for America to attack Iran is the red line. When do these people wake up about Russia? Because Russia is doing to Ukraine what America is currently doing to Iran. And worse, because they've been doing it since 2014. And again, that doesn't mean that you need to support Ukraine and send money and guns if you don't want to. You don't have to. You're an independent sovereign nation. You can decide what you want to do. But for example, Switzerland also is not supporting Ukraine, but they sanctioned both sides, right? So you can be neutral, you can do nothing, you can not have an opinion about it, but you shouldn't be like, well, it's all Ukraine's fault. And, Ukraine is in a bad position too because they need to be pro America because they want American support, even when Americans are doing really stupid things in the world right now. Yeah. So I'm wondering, when do you think the Americans will, like the people like Tucker Carlson, like Candace Owens, will come out and say, "Oh yeah, we were actually wrong about Russia"? When do you think that will happen? Not holding my breath. All right, I'm trying to get to 800 subscribers by the end of March. So if you could hit the subscribe button if you like what I do, that would be great. And leave your comments. Maybe I made you angry in the comment section. And if I made you angry and you're eloquent enough, I will respond. I'll do a respond video. All right, response video. All right, have a nice day. Bye bye.